Well, hello and welcome to yet another daily encouragement video. My name is Lewis. This is your first time on the channel. What we do is we take a verse or two or a story from the day or some kind of current event, and we provide daily encouragement, or at least what we aim to do is provide daily encouragement. Typically, what you're finding or what you're being told is stories or things that have been an encouragement to me or have been something that I've found encouragement out of and things that I think would help you out. Now, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but I believe we can all take a story from every uh, a story or something that happens in life, and we can actually use it to grow more as a person and be better than we were maybe the day before. Today, I'm getting a verse. I don't want to call it at random, but I'm picking a verse that's not part of a devotional study, but it was actually just a verse I heard and just referenced, honestly, in conversation this week, and I thought would be an encouragement to others. See, the verse is Romans 6:1. It says, "What shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound?" Technically, you got to have verse 2 and verse 3 kind of with it. Verse 2 says, "God forbid, how shall we that are dead to sin live any longer therein? Know ye not that so many of us, as we're baptized into Jesus Christ, were baptized into his death?" And then it keeps going, and there's plenty more verses, and there's a much deeper conversation that can be had with this passage, but I want to keep it simple, and I want to kind of be an encouragement to you today. Actually, I always want to try to be an encouragement, so I don't know why I just said it that way. But here's the deal. The previous 5 chapters have been emphasizing how we should live. What should we, how to be encouraged and so forth. And one of the things I will express is the idea, the goodness of the word grace. Most everybody out in the world has heard of the famous Christian hymn, Amazing Grace. There are so many things that could be said about grace. Uh, I know in college we heard the acronym used, God's riches at Christ's expense, spelling out grace. Grace is, that item that we don't deserve, and there's just so many other definitions that you get told when it comes to the word grace. But the question that always comes up is when it mentions another. I'm trying to say this the right way. When you're able to obtain grace is typically when you're dealing through struggles, when you're going through hard times, and when you're trying to honestly even recover from those hard times. So as you do, that's why the passage here is, "What shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin so that grace may abound? Shall I continue to do wrong so that I could experience more grace? Shall I continue to do that which displeases God so I can feel the high afterward?" It sounds almost like an addiction when you would hear, if someone always knows that after they deal with a setback in dealing with their addiction, then all of a sudden there's the uptick, the high curve of it afterward. Some of the things that the drug addict that's not able to get a hold of their drug will sometimes do something to inflict a little bit of pain to get the body's natural reaction and the body's natural receptors kicking in to provide that extra dose of pain relief, that extra dose of, so to speak, we'll call it grace to deal with that pain. Well, after a while, you only have so many bones, or you only have so many ways you can cut or dig yourself. You might say, "Oh, that's horrible, that's terrible." Well, that might be. But let's be transparent here. we as Christians sometimes struggle to stay on top of the mountain. We struggle to stay and live in victory, live in contentment, live where we know things are going well. You may ask, Lewis, why is this something that sticks with you? Truthfully, over the last couple years, there's a lot of times where I doubt myself. Not my Christianity, not my salvation, but I doubt myself in the different capacities in which I serve because I become more aware of just where I fail. I become more aware of just how I struggle. And it's very easy when you do that to lean and hopefully lean upon God and not lean upon sin for a temporary satisfaction or a temporary healing or even a temporary distraction. You know, the alcoholic doesn't drink alcohol um, because it makes them wiser. It typically, not always, but typically makes them capable of not either caring about the pain or struggles that they're in, or it it gives them enough of a numbing that they just don't care. Rarely on occasion, you'll hear the alcoholic that enjoys the drink, but what they don't enjoy is the after effect. They don't enjoy the bottom of the barrel feel. They don't enjoy the headache or the fatigue that comes with it. And they definitely don't care with the dollars lost out of their bank account if they're spending a whole bunch on it. But what they're dealing with at the moment in their mind is too much. It's too great. It's too hard. And then as they do it, uh, it becomes a I don't want to call it a chemical issue, but it becomes more than just something that's used voluntarily. It then becomes something that has a physical toll on them, a physical grip on them, and an emotional grip on them. You know, it's when you look at the idea of grace and the ability of trying to be able to be uplifted, we don't have to sin to get that grace. We can come before God's throne and say, Lord, I need your help. And we can do it before the sin, before whether it's anger, whether it's uh, hostility, whether it's inappropriate behaviors, whatever it is that you choose to use in order to deal with your desire for grace. You figure if I'm at the bottom of the barrel, then God will hear me. Or if I'm at the bottom of the barrel, then God will listen to me, or then he'll pull me up and help me out. You don't have to go that far down. He'll help you sooner. You see, the sooner you realize you're not expected to be He-Man or Superman or these superheroes that we see on TV today. You're not expected to have all the answers. You're not expected to have all the abilities. What you're expected to do is to try and depend on the one who is all powerful, who is all knowing. God created us not for us to just stagger around and try to do this on our own. Now, verse 2 is important. God forbid, how shall we that are dead to sin live any longer therein? You became a Christian. You and I said, we realize that we're sinners. We realize we do wrong, and we don't want to do wrong anymore. So why would you use that as an option to help yourself move forward? Why would you use the option of being sinful when you know it's wrong? Why would you use that as the option to try to make yourself feel better? It doesn't work that way. What shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? God forbid. How shall we that are dead to sin live any longer therein. So, how about you? What are you going to do today to show that you don't want to continue in sin anymore? Do you realize that verse wouldn't be there if it wasn't possible to continue to regularly do the thing that separates you from God? Are you willing to sit there and to make the sacrifice? Say, God, I want to do what you want me to do. Please help me. It's entirely possible, and I know you can do it. It's something I'm working on, and I struggle daily with things, but I know that He still loves me, and He wants what's best for me. I challenge you to think the same way. God forbid. How are we that are dead to sin live any longer therein? Anyway, thank you for taking the time to join us. Looking forward. Someday in the future, maybe this year, I'd like to go through maybe a verse by verse study in Romans and see if we can come up with some regular encouragement. But until the next time, thank you for joining. Have a great day.